Charlie Kirk dead at 31 in Utah at a university. I think, was it not Berkeley, Utah Valley University. You clicked on this because you already obviously know. For some reason, you wanted to hear me talk about it. I'm just astonished at the fact that he's actually dead. It is crazy to see that this guy is dead. I really never cared for his politics. Some people decide to speak, controversial. Some people decide to speak what would be considered politically correct, whatever. Like, this is just a matter of, like, he's dead. And that was the last thing I expected to happen today. Long story short, his program, Turning Point USA, I believe is the name of it. They go around the country. They do, they interact with people on the ground and see how the population, thinks about the current political climate. He argues his point. Other people argue their points. A respectable profession, actually being somebody who doesn't just say things, whatever, right? A very respectable individual and is able to actually, he's willing to get boots on the ground and talk against people and whatever that. And then people will hate him. People will love him, whatever. Regardless of the fact is, he died today after a shooter hit him in the neck with a single bullet from a rifle about 200 yards away from official reports saying, and he's dead, unfortunately. Passed away at 31, has a wife and I believe 2 kids from what I've read. And it is a shocking, like, just boom. I was at work and and again, I've just known him to be like a political individual, like, he's just an entity in the political space. And then, like, I could respect the dude and the stuff he does. It's entertaining, and to say the least, that he brings either people that agree with him or absolutely despise him and debates everybody regardless, or speaks with everybody regardless. Something I could appreciate and respect a lot. It's entertaining to watch, and it's something some people wouldn't necessarily entertain to begin with. So, whatever. Regardless of how you feel about him. There was so much shit when it came to apparently arresting the suspect. I heard that the first suspect was just some random motherfucker and it was the wrong guy, and then apparently this old guy was it, but I'm being told now that was the wrong guy. Now official reports are saying they have the person in custody. The Utah governor, Spencer Cox, had said that we don't have any reason to believe there was a second person involved. This is obviously premeditated. If it was from that distance, I would imagine their intention was trying to get away. There is so many angles and so many different perspectives of what went down. And I have the clip of it up close from like the front row, where you could see it hit like a cordial artery, whatever the fuck that thing's called, that connects your brain to the rest of your body, explode. And it was like, like disturbing. Like, I'm not one to be like, oh, blood, but like, he lost maybe about a cup's worth of blood in 3 seconds. At that rate, unfortunately, I imagine there would have been nothing that they could do to save him, unfortunately. And apparently he was still alive after the time of the shooting. Like, he was alive, didn't die on the spot, which is an awful thing to think about. He probably drowned on his own blood and all. It's such an awful way to go. And people are, some people are celebrating online, which I feel is like really weird, because this is a guy who, he just spoke. He just spoke about his views about things that he supported or against things he supported, regardless, He just spoke. You killed this guy because he talked. Like, and I'm not defending anything he said. I'm just saying people being super weird about it and how they're handling it is really gross in my opinion. I don't, like, I'll say this. Like, if anybody wants to try to say I'm a fucking fascist, I don't agree with everything he says. I don't agree. Like, he has some good takes. He has some bad takes. The same fucking way everybody does, But it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, it's very sad to see somebody who was very well known, very well respected in his field, had, was a family man, whatever. Like, you could say a good, godly man, an upstanding American. We could just say that. And people are celebrating his death. And I'm seeing people say, oh, like, when they first announced that he was still alive, for I think an hour and a half he was alive for, apparently, is what they said after the shooting. There was people saying, oh, let's please pray he's not. And it's just like, are you serious? Like, I would understand hatred like that to somebody that you're more personal with, where you begin to wish death upon them. Only in the case that I can maybe understand is if it's a very interpersonal thing. This is somebody on the internet who speaks, and you wish and pray death upon them. Who the fuck are you? The Venom from fucking Spider-Man 2 or whatever the fuck? The fucking Tobey Maguire Venom that he goes to church and prays death upon fucking Peter Parker? I almost dropped these cans, Jesus. Again, I don't really give a shit about the guy. I'm obviously distraught at the fact that I got to see his neck explode. And, you know, I feel bad for his family, of course, and those close to him, of course. But, you know, it's really weird to see how people have been taking this. And there's obviously the people who are like, hey, like, whether you hated him or not, nobody deserves this. And then there's people saying like, oh, thank God. Now let's get, what's the other one? Nick Fuentes, the other white boy who's like, he's always wearing a suit. He's got a nice background. And it was funny. I think he he had people show up to his house. He stepped out with like a gun or something to like get them to fuck off or something. That guy. I think it's Nick Fuentes. Actually, let me see. Yeah, Nick Fuentes. Like, you know, people were saying like, oh, let's get Nick Fuentes next. And then there's like people with the photo of the shooter being like, oh, like you're doing God's work. Just like, what? You know, like that's psychotic, dude. Like, don't get me wrong. Look, if it was somebody who deserved it and it was a genuinely ill person and it was somebody who did physical harm and physical wrong to those who genuinely don't deserve it to such a degree that this could be warranted, I wipe my hands. You could wipe my ass with everything I said. But from everything I've known and from everything I've seen and from everything I've read, I've only ever known Kirk just to be a political commentator. Yes, he got into the political space because people are always going to if people are trying to enter that, of course they're going to full send it. If you are somebody who has an opinion and you have a chance to blow that opinion up even further, of course you're going to fucking lean into it. Realistically. So, and then for people to say that, oh, his words were evil. He harbored evil with his platform. He just spoke online. He spoke in person. He spoke at conferences. He spoke. His thing, speaking. Politics. That's what politics is. It's speaking, you know? So it's just crazy to think that there is a genuine delusional group of people online who hate somebody hate somebody they've never met through a little fucking this little fucking thing right here, the thing you're watching me on. They hate him so much through this little form of media or this little form of communication so much they pray for this man's death. And then some people could say, well, people just do it for the sake of being performative online, for clicks, views, rage, all that. You're right. You're totally right. But also, you're also wrong because there are genuinely some fucking... I saw a fucking person within the hour and 30 that I had, you know, I found out about this. I was keeping up with it. I was at work, and even some of my coworkers were telling me about it. I'm like, yeah, dude, I just saw it. And I saw within the hour and 30 that apparently he was alive, I saw a lady make a fucking ritualistic, like, fucking totem of his photos and shit burning. Because it was, oh, just heard the news. You know what we gotta do. And then she, like, flips the fucking camera, candles and shit. Like, what the fuck, dude? And again, yes, that could obviously be clickbaity. That could be, like, for the sake of harboring rage. But this is wild to me. Honestly, it's wild to me that you can just simple acts of speaking online, publicizing it to the world, to the point where people want you dead over it. That is fucking wild to me. It's upsetting to see. One, a genuine guy lost his life. Whether you hate him or love him, he was a man of he walked the talk. You know, like. He was somebody who would always say, you know what? If I'm wrong, I'm like, and you could twist as you want. There are many instances where he is genuinely just about like, hey, we're debating, we're talking. This is my point, and I feel strongly about it. This is your point, you feel strongly about it. And it's something I can respect. And if there's something he's done, unless this guy was like killing babies, you know, and from what I'm aware of, this guy hates the idea of abortion, so I don't think he'd go around killing babies. Unless there is a legitimate reason that, you know, this guy should have been killed, I really, really, really denounce and find it distasteful that people are celebrating this guy's death. And of course, there's a large majority of people who are like, this is tragic. And then there's some people who are like praising him as a saint. like, so I obviously it's like a little bit extreme. Not a little bit. It's very extreme. There was somebody saying, "Oh, he should be the saint of the Second Amendment." Yep, 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 yep. And it's just like, okay, you do that. But in the end, it's just really tragic because this guy was just somebody who did what he liked, talking to people and seeing what they think and seeing if maybe he could change their way of thinking. And whether you think it was controversial, whether you think it wasn't, whether you agreed with them or you didn't, nobody deserves death over a simple act of just talking and debating people. That's weird. That's weird. And again, I don't really agree with him on half of his shit. His takes on firearms, I absolutely agree with, though. And it's unfortunate, too, because the last things he was talking about, publicly at least, was about gang violence. And he was shot in the neck and died. That is fucking crazy to me. And like, I don't want to say, like, ironic in a poetic sense, but it is genuinely ironic. Talking about gun violence, death via gun violence, and gang violence and all that. And you die right after that. And then people were also mentioning the fact that he said, oh, you know, certain casualties regarding gun ownership in the U.S. are just a unfortunate happenstance of owning guns. Which, people referencing that right after he dies is weird. And I think people are, like, twisting that in a weird way. He just, like, I could understand what that means. Some people shouldn't own guns. And also, some people, if they just really want to, will do something bad. Like, let's say with me, I own a firearm. I own it legally. I bought it legally. I am perfectly mental state. But what's to say somebody like me, perfectly normal, owns a gun, whatever, has been never fucking got into any legal trouble in their life, snaps tomorrow. You can't stop that, unfortunately. You can't predict it. You can't do that. So those are unfortunate circumstances where people just fucking lose it. And that is probably something to, like, what he mentioned in that quote that people are trying to twist in a really weird way. But it sucks. It sucks. It really does suck to see what this devolved into effectively, because nobody deserves this just because they believe one thing, and especially if that one thing is really just something a bunch of other people also agree with. Because the logic that this guy deserved death, it means everybody who agrees with him also deserves death. You feel me? It's weird. It's really weird, and I don't fuck with it, and I don't know. It's really sad, like I said. But in the end, you know, all you could do is God bless. You know? So, thank you guys for watching. Rest in peace, Charlie Kirk, and deuces.